The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSRTV, your home for sim racing.
Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the Auto Club Speedway here in the California for tonight's race of the Pro Series. These drivers are already gridded up and ready to go here tonight for this 2-mile oval here in California. We're happy to have you along with LSRTV. I am Austin Coop. Alongside me is Kelly Dahl. We've got Siska Scarmuza, and all of us will be bringing you the action here tonight. We'll go through a quick run of your starting grid in here in just a moment. Right behind the iRacing official pace car, number 42 of David Rattler. He will start his number 42 Ford in that pole position with a 36.728. A really fast front row here. Keegan Leahy gets an equal good time of a 36.771, and then you start going back to the field. Nicholas Shelton, he will get the third position. Garrett Lowe fourth. Casey Kerwin will start in the fifth position. Justin Bolton starts sixth. Brad Davies seventh. Brandon Pitgrass, he will start in the eighth position. Ryan Doucette ninth. Jarl Tien, he'll start in the 10th position with Jeremy Davis in 11th. Jake Nichols 12th. And you got Patrick Mallett 13th. Glenn Rockefeller, he'll start in the 14th position with James Curl, Brad Mahar, Steven Wilson, Kevin King, I should say. He'll start in the 18th position. Kane Cook, and then you've got Jacob Harbert. They're going to start your top 20 here tonight. Kelly, this is one of the biggest tracks we go to all season, and it takes a little bit of skill to get around this place.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a unique track in the fact that the corners are so wide open. It's normally times these corners are really tight, and you have to really let off the gas quite a bit here. But at Auto Club, because you got that extra half mile, that half mile isn't in the straights. That half mile is in the corners. They're a really wide radius, so you can carry a lot of speed through those corners. So the name of the game here tonight is the momentum, conserving your momentum through the turns.
And as these guys are already getting ready to go green flag racing for round number 5, or sorry, yeah, number 4, I should say. I'm a little bit ahead of myself. Round number 4 is where we're going to be here. And Keegan Leahy, he's on the front row. He won last week's race. He's in a really good position, going on some momentum from last week. So we'll definitely have to watch him. And the iRacing official pace car ducks down, and David Rattler will set in this field going on for 100 laps tonight. Here they go. Green flag is in the air. The number 42 of Keegan Leahy has got himself a good distance between himself and the rest of the field. Keegan Leahy got himself a really good, or Rattler got himself a good restart, I should say. And Leahy behind him gets a good jump as well. They're 2 by 2 behind him for 5th place as the first 3 cars get going. Looks like the number 3 of Casey Kerwin is going to get himself in line. Battle for 5th. Number 4 of Justin Bolton and Brad Davies. They'll go side by side in a bunch of cars side by side. Battle for the lead, though. Keegan Leahy goes to the very bottom of the track. He's going to make no hesitation to go to the front and take the advantage of that. And that number 42 of David Rattler, he's going to lose not just 1, but 2 positions here at the very beginning of this race. So pole sitter is going to go -2 positions here at the start of this race. Not the way you want to start, but the draft has a lot to do with it. He's still in the running. These top 4 drivers have really split away from everybody else. Justin Bolton and Brad Davies kind of pioneering this little pack that they have behind them. Single file, really, until you get to about just behind the top 1039 of Glenn Rockefeller. He's right here on the inside trying to get a position over the number 10 of Patrick Mallett. These guys going for position, trying to do everything they can in the corners just to get a little bit of an advantage here. As they're still going side by side across the start-finish line. Looking all over the place. There's absolutely battles everywhere. But where do you want to make your battles? Looks like the number 3 here of Casey Kerwin. He's going to go to the bottom of the 42. So the 42 is going to lose another spot right now early on in the going. So that's -3 positions right there for the number 43 of David Rattler, possibly just saving and making sure that that car can get to the end, or perhaps it is a little bit of speed. But nonetheless, these top 3 drivers, Leahy, Shelton, Rattler, 2 of those drivers have already won. Looks like, or Kerwin, I should say. So those are the 3 drivers that have won this season, is Kerwin, Shelton, and Leahy. They're 1, 2, 3 right now. So very impressive for these 3 drivers to already make their way. And these 3 have kind of been the class of this field the last 3 weeks. So it'll definitely be really interesting to see how these guys continue to battle over the next few weeks. So take a look throughout the field. Top 5 is Leahy, Shelton, Kerwin, Rattler, and Bolton. Bolton started from the 6th place position. He's come up a spot. And so you got to look at Garrett Lowe as well. He's lost 4 positions. So his number 1 drill steel machine has not quite had what it needs right now to get it towards the front, but he's going to be under fire from the driver behind him. That's Ryan Doucette and Jarl Tyen. Actually, looks like he's going to lose a spot on the grid right there. So Jarl Tyen right behind him right now, trying to get his spot. As many of these other spots are up for grabs, but they are getting very single file. Looks like that 39 is still trying to get position. That's going to be Glenn Rockefeller. We just talked about him not too long ago. Definitely a driver who's trying to get as many positions, but he looks like he's more or less falling back. A lot of drivers up and down the field right now, but starting to get a little calmer towards the front as these guys start to get single filed out. Remember, there's going to be 100 laps here at this racetrack, but that does not mean that we're going to go green flag the entire way. A lot of drivers still want to get as much as they can. Definitely going to be seeing a lot of drivers maybe making some edgy moves later on in the race, still earlier on. Each lap is a percentage of the way through the race, so we'll just have to see how that goes. Looks like going throughout the field, everyone is pretty much single file up until you get to the just outside the top 5. Looks like Kevin King in 16th position is pretty settled in. And just about everyone else is too, so just kind of looking out throughout the field, and really no battles except for that lead. That's the closest battle we've got. It looks like Nicholas Shelton's looking to the bottom to try and maybe make something happen, but not quite yet. Keegan Leahy, he won last week's race. Definitely wants to keep Nicholas Shelton behind him right now, but as it stands, those 2 are running nose to tail. Just no advantage for either driver at the moment, except for really Shelton has that draft behind him. And Casey Kerwin is a long way back in 3rd place in that number 3 machine. And look at the battle here for 4th place. Looks like the number 42 of David Rattler. He's going to lose another position right here to the number 4 of Justin Bolton. Bolton's been moving up quite a bit. The crossover move here, turn number 4, not going to quite work out. And the 42 is going to give him a bump draft on the front straightaway right here. And so that's going to be another negative position for the number 42 of David Rattler. Then looks like the driver behind, that's going to be Brandon Pitgrass. He's going to try and go up another position from Brad Davies as well.
Yeah, Brad Davies doing the best he can to hold him off at this moment, or get around David Rattler, but Rattler is really just taking off, really chasing down Bolton as fast as he can. And there's not too much separating those cars, but Bolton now starting to open up a bit of a gap over Rattler at this moment.
Yeah, look at the battle here right behind him. Looks like Jarl Tyen. He's going to try and get the position for the number 1 of Garrett Lowe. Been seeing this battle happen for the last couple laps, and looks like the number 1 is going to try and get him clear, and he's going to be clear of the 14, but the 14 is probably going to be able to get a good distance between themselves. He's got 3 or 4 car lengths between himself, and the number 14 is pretty hooked up right now. Started the 10th. He's now got Garrett Lowe's position, so he's going to be in 8th place. And so really looking throughout the field, I think might be a little bit of action towards the 19 car of Kane Cook. He keyed up on the mic and said that there's a little bit of action going on in front of him, but there's a lot of action going on behind him. A lot of 2x2 action with James Curl, the number 27, and they are going to go 3 wide here. This is getting really dicey here on the front straightaway.
Yeah, Michael's going all the way down to the apron, trying to get out of the way and give as much space as possible to the guy in the middle. But that 5 of James Curl, he's going to decide that this is not worth it and back off. But the big winner in this is the 18 of Robbie Vrabel Jr., who makes it work on the high side and gains those positions. And now he will take control, and now he's going to try to get himself into that top 10. Just has a few more cars to go. He's going to really get a good launch off that last corner and had a good run on Eric Smith. But now he's going to try to see if he can go and work the inside. We saw him work the high side on the last lap. He's now going to go down to the inside and hold the 41 up high on the track. So some great driving from Robbie as he's going to move himself up a few positions, get himself into 21st and maybe even to the top 20.
And there were 42 drivers that started this race. Only 41 cars on the track on the lead lap right now. Looks like James Milbachler, he is going to be 2 laps down at this point in the race. Has the ability to get those laps back if he is able to continue on. He looks like he's just hitting the start-finish line now, whereas the leaders are coming out of 3 and 4. And that battle for the lead right now, it has not gone away this entire time. Right now, the 21 of Keegan Leahy is doing, I think they're just kind of going out for a stroll, really. I mean, with the fact that they're so close, I mean, it's definitely not like that under the hood. They are definitely going at it, but they've been so close this whole time, it just seems quite normal for those two to be as close as they are. They're less than a tenth apart from each other, and I think Casey Kerwin is just catching them a little bit each lap, but not by a lot. He does have that draft to kind of help him just a little bit in his number 3 Ford, but right now these three are pretty dang even right now.
And if Nicholas decides to make the move, which he almost looks like he does there down the front stretch, dives towards that inside, but it is covered off by Keegan Leahy. But if Nicholas does pull alongside Keegan, Casey Kerwin is immediately going to be in that picture for the race lead, because it's going to cause those other 2 cars to slow down. So that may be something in Nicholas's mind to just kind of ride it out for a few minutes, knock off a few more laps. As long as he's within reach of Keegan Leahy, he's in a good position. So if he just stays where he's at right now, he doesn't have to worry about making this a 3-car race.
Battle for the top 5 right behind these guys. Pitgrass is trying to get around the number 42, who has struggled to really get going this whole entire race and this run really so far. I'm imagining that when the 42 has the opportunity to come down pit road, he's going to make some big, massive adjustments on that number 42 machine, as he's only gone backwards as he started on the pole. And I know that these guys behind him, Errol Tyen and Brad Davies, they're also going to try and want to take advantage of him being just a little bit off the pace as well. He had a really fast opening lap in qualifying, but it appears that when it has come to race time, the car is not ready to go for that lead, as the lead has actually kind of extended itself a little bit here. Looks like the number 21, it's just got a little bit of a car, maybe half a car length now, although it looks like the number 2 is coming back a little bit. But like we talked about, I mean, I think for these 2 guys, it's going to, oh, maybe he's going to put the move on the middle. Yes, he is. He's going to go to the bottom. Keegan Leahy's going to go for the position right here under the 21 of Keegan Leahy. Or, sorry, I said the same name twice. That's going to be Nicholas Shelton on the bottom. He's going to go for that position, but it's not going to happen right now. Looks like that top side's too good right now.
Yeah, the top side has some great momentum off the corner, but really to be able to initiate this pass, you have to go for the inside. So it's going to be a bit difficult if trying to pass someone that's so strong on the high side. A bit of a mistake there from Nicholas, is he just doesn't quite get the good speed off of turn 4. It drops back far from Keegan Leahy, actually losing 2/10 there and getting a little bit closer to the clutches of Casey Kerwin, who's just kind of quietly biding his time there, waiting to see if he can maybe capitalize on a mistake made by one of those front 2 drivers.
I think maybe Nicholas was making the move to kind of show I'm still here to race, and I want to get that position, and also the fact that he could also try and see what that lower lane can do in the later runs. And you can see their lines are quite different here. The number 21, he's running higher in the entrance and then lower in the exit, and then really, quite frankly, Nicholas is doing quite the opposite. So Keegan's trying the top side, Nicholas is trying the bottom. I say both have their perks. But it's hard to pass on the bottom when you got so much speed on the top. That's what Keegan's got. I'm trying not to mix the names up again, but that's what Keegan's got right now. He's got a lot of speed on the top side, but Nicholas has got a lot of speed on the bottom side, and we think he's a little bit faster than him with the line that they are currently doing. And oh, by the way, they are getting a little bit farther away from Casey, so Casey's setup's good right now, but at the same time, he's not able to really catch these guys by himself.
Yeah, Nicholas is a little bit faster through the middle of the corner, but Keegan just carries so much more speed off the corners and down those straightaways. That's what really is helping him make up that time that he's losing through the middle of the corner. And really, that's a great way to drive this track, is to try to just use the momentum that you've got, carry as much speed as you can, and just rocket down those straightaways. And another thing that's kind of worrying me about Nicholas is how close he's getting to those walls off of the corners. So once those tires wear down, there's a chance that maybe he's going to miss his mark on that inside and slide all the way up into that wall. So here he goes again, trying to look to that inside once more, but Keegan Leahy still has that speed and is going to hold him off at the moment. But Nicholas has caught right back up, and he's again going to look to the inside down the front straight.
These two have such a good lead that they can kind of make this battle. They got to be careful, of course, too. They are, I mean, they're still pulling away from most of the rest of the field, and a little bit from Casey Kerwin and Bolton and company. But at the same time, that win is a lot more points, and it kind of more or less secures you. We haven't had a repeat winner yet this season. Leahy won last week, and Shelton won the week before that at Phoenix. And here he goes to the bottom. He wants to try and get that position right now. He has the advantage. Is he going to be able to go right in front of him? He is, but is he going to hit the wall? No, he keeps it off of it. So new leader is going to be Nicholas Shelton, the number 2. He's going to get that lead in that Chevrolet, and that is our first lead change. If you don't count that first lap from exchanging the pole to the number 21 of Keegan Leahy.
And Keegan just wasn't quite able to hit his marks on that corner. I think it may have thrown him off that Nicholas is going to make that move. Keegan just kind of stayed in the middle of the track instead of, or not even really in the middle line. He was almost on the high line there, stayed way up that racetrack in the corner and really didn't carry any speed at all off the corner. So Nicholas had a great move there through turns 3 and 4, really working that inside line. But then also you got to think he could be working those tires just a little bit harder. And if that is the case, I mean, he may have a bit of a fall off before their first pit stop.
And pit stops is definitely something you think about in the long haul here too. Probably only going to get 2 pit stops at the maximum or minimum, really, just because of how long these laps are and how few laps there are in comparison to the rest of the tracks that we've been to. But when you start to think about how that may come into play, that short pit and the long pit strategies, if you think it's going to go during the rest of the race, I mean, you might as well try and stretch it and make it worth your while. But at the same time, where's the most precise place to pit and time to pit, I should say. That's up to the drivers to really figure out, and I think that's when it's going to be really exciting for us to see exactly what happens to these guys. A driver on the move right now. I'm looking at the 18 of Robbie Vrabel Jr., which come up from 31st place to 17th. He's one of our biggest movers right now, and he's only going faster. I've seen him move up to the field. You commented on it earlier how he's been quite a freight train coming through these guys, and I think he was 18th last time I saw him, and then he had a big group in front of him, quite a few car lengths. But right now he's on the 31 of Benjamin Nelson and Ryan Doucette, and he caught these guys from a few laps ago, and they were about half a second in front. So definitely looking at number 18, as he's doing a really good job right now.
Yeah, Robbie may not have had that qualifying setup dialed in, but he's certainly got a good race setup underneath him as he has been making some crazy moves throughout the field. Starting 31st, he's already up to 17th, and he's looking for more. He's got the 31 in his sight, and just ahead of the 31, he's also got the 40, so with a good timed pass, here comes the 31 trying to go to the inside of the 40. Benjamin Nelson getting a great run off the corner. Actually, I think that's just the case of Ryan Doucette not having a good run off the corner, and Robbie just left with nowhere to go. He checks up, and that's actually going to maybe even cost him, but he's got some good speed through the middle of the corner. Going to see if he can try to make a move around Ryan Doucette, who's now struggling just a little bit here.
Doucette wearing those drill spill colors is trying to go back to the bottom onto the 31 right here. Really, if you're the number 18 of Vrabel Jr., you don't want to make a mistake, and I think that's why he didn't push the issue. It's almost a quarter of the way through the race right now already, as really have only been these guys have only been racing for about 15 minutes right now, so the race is going by fairly quickly at this pace. And right now, you got to think to yourself, well, do you want to get to the end of the race or do you want to risk it? And I think the 18th got himself at the very top. Well, not the very top, but very high up the track. Something I don't think we're really used to seeing a lot of drivers. But he goes right by the 40 of Doucette right there. Doucette, I think, made a mistake. I think that would be the second one here. Is he's going to lose another position to the 39. So 18 going forward, Doucette going backwards. He's gone from 9th to 17th, now 18th, and maybe more.
Yeah, as he went into the corner, he just kind of lifted off the throttle, realized he wasn't going to make the corner without going into the 31. And he's now just trapped on that bottom side, not getting great cornering speed, not getting good exit speed either. And he's losing ton of ground as he's moving back even further. It looks like the 8 and maybe even the 27 will get around him, as, again, getting pushed down the track, can't really extend off the corner. And it's really costing him quite a bit, and it's hurting his chances here tonight.
And all the while that's going on, Casey, or I keep saying Casey, but Nicholas Shelton keeps on getting himself a fairly smaller lead ahead of Keegan Leahy, and then behind them, Justin Bolton and Casey Kerwin have exchanged positions as well. Number 4 of Justin, he's getting himself actually a pretty good lead in front of the number 3, who had been kind of following in the coattails of Shelton and Leahy's wake, but right now he's not able to do that anymore as his car fell off just a little bit, and Bolton's car, his has actually absolutely come alive right now, and he's pulling away from the number 3, and he's going to set his sights forward as he's one of the fastest cars on the racetrack. He's actually ran a slightly faster lap than Nicholas Shelton that lap, and he's a driver to watch. 6th to 2nd, or 6th to 3rd right now.
Yeah, he may just be a driver that's better on those worn tires, and he's getting even further away from Casey Kerwin. Every corner, he's just working those tires perfectly, so it looks like his setup really just favors the slightly worn tires and is really able to baby the car when they're worn out like this. He's flying around this racetrack at the moment. He's getting further ahead of Casey, who's actually going to get into a bit of trouble here. Not a great corner for Casey Kerwin, and that's going to put him into the reaches of Brandon Pipgrass, who closes in on him. But Pipgrass just needs to find a way around. If he can try to make a dive for the inside, he may even attempt it on this corner, but right now decides to just follow along with Casey Kerwin, maybe wait for another mistake. But if he waits too long, it looks like Jarl Tien might get right up behind him as well in that number 14 car.
And you know, we talked about this when we had one of our leagues here at this track, that the track is so momentum based, and I think just about anyone who's been in the sim just knows that so much. But as momentum shifts, we're gonna have a caution right now, and I do not know where it's at. Oh, 33 of Caleb Eisenhower. He looks to be completely destroyed on the back straightaway, and we're gonna get a look here. It looks like it came out of turn number 2. And it looks like there's a lot of contact in front of him, and looks like he went straight to the inside wall. Actually, that's just dust. That's not a blown engine. That's just dust, or so much smoke. It looks like the guys in front of him actually got a lot worse of that. Nathan Lyon, Michael Johnson, and Blake Bryant got a lot of that.
Yeah, that 23 car kind of came off the corner, was just got to the outside of the 38, clipped him slightly, which put the 23 into the wall, and then got caught up with the 34, turned him down in front of that 33 of Caleb Eisenhower, and sent that 33 flying to the inside wall. And surprisingly, I think he even kept it off the inside wall. I think he's lucky that there is a huge amount of pavement down there, but I think he was able to get that car slowed down before he did make contact with the wall. So maybe there'll be some right front damage, which will definitely cost him in the long run, but his car is going to be relatively okay and able to keep rolling.
Yeah, I saw him save that just barely. I think it's just like maybe 1 car length away from that. But as that caution and that wreck get virtually cleaned up, Nicholas Shelton will lead these drivers down pit road for their first service of the night. I gotta tell you, this is going to make pit stops later on quite interesting when we have green flag pit stops. But as these guys go down to the long pit road, looks like Shelton's going to slow down just a little early, and then he's going to have Keegan Leahy go right around him for his pit stop. We'll see if anyone, looks like maybe one driver missed their stall right there, but right sides for the number 2, left sides for the number 2, and looks like just about everybody's going to take 4 tires. They know the importance of it. And looks like it's going to be the number 2 first. Look at the number 4 right there. That's Justin Bolton. He's going to get a spot here on pit road in front of the number 21 of Keegan Leahy. So Bolton right there makes a very good power move off of pit road. He went very quickly out of his box, and that is definitely what got him that spot.
And the 21 nearly lost 2 positions over that 3 of Casey Kerwin, nearly got himself a position as well. But some great movement by Justin Bolton. Gets him the spot there. He flew out of his box. He just really linked up those rear tires and rocked it off. I had to look back to see if he had sped there, but no, he kept it under the pit road speed limit. And really, that was just him having a fantastic stop.
Yeah, 55 miles an hour is what it is for these guys, and basically what he was able to do is just make sure he didn't spin the tires and not be too weak on the gas, in order so that car could just cleanly propel itself forward. So well done to the number 4 team for getting that position, especially for as hard it is to pass at this place. Definitely, I think a big, a hoorah for that team. I think that's definitely, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but definitely something that they're going to be really happy to have that track position here as we're pacing behind the pace car right now. Looks like the top 5 is going to be Shelton, Bolton, Leahy, Casey Kerwin is going to be in 4th, and then Brandon Pipgrass is in 5th. Looking back at where David Rattler, our pole sitter, is, he's currently in the 7th position. And you got a couple of guys that are starting, or three guys that have started outside the top 15 that are in the top 10. That's Benjamin Nelson. I think he's actually our biggest mover. I can't do really math that well, but it's going to be between him and Robbie Vrabel Jr. as Vrabel is in 14th right now.
I do think, though, that Benjamin Nelson was the one that missed his pit box because he just came out of the pits now, or at least came out of pit road just now. So he may have been the one that drove through the pits first time around. So I think he has dropped back in the field for the time being, but he was certainly running up there quite a bit. But one person that is in that top 10 is the 30 of Brad Mahar. Started 16th, has moved himself up to 8th, possibly even more once the 31 gets shuffled out of there the next time they come across the scoring line here. But great driving for Brad Mahar, getting a lot of positions there.
Getting some airtime too, which is always important for these guys to show if they're not on a team, or if they want to be on a big team, that they're here to play. And I think there's a lot of guys out here that are a part of some big teams, you know, a part of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze series. Like we've got drivers like Ray Alfala, I do believe Cody Bias and a few others are currently in these guys' ears as teammates, hoping that their driver eventually gets into the Peak Antifreeze series to work with. And I think that's a really cool thing, that there's a lot of these guys don't take an off season really. They're still here. They're still a part of what's going to be happening whenever they get back to the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze. So I think a pretty neat deal for these guys is these guys are getting ready to go back green. We're on lap number 32, I believe, and might be wrong, but I believe this is a one pit stop race now from here on to the end, which is going to be calling for some interesting strategies here, Kelly.
I believe one of the things I heard earlier today was that they could really only go a max of 35 laps. So if someone plays their cards right, they might be able to make it work, but it definitely would mean extending your pit stops for as long as possible. So, and again, you really can also see someone maybe bank on a caution happening. So someone may try to short pit, they try to use those fresh tires to their advantage and maybe get a lucky caution. But I'm sure a lot of these people are going to just really extend their pit stops now.
That always looms in the distance, and you know that we are not done racing at any point in this race, as we are going to be closer and closer to the end of this one before you know it. 32 laps right now, coming to 33. Waiting that iRacing pace car to go off. There it goes. Nicholas Shelton, when does he go? Green flag is out. He gets a good start, goes immediately down to the bottom, and gets a really good jump, about 2-3 car lengths maybe at the most. And that outside lane actually has a good pusher from Casey Kerwin. Good push, 3 wide behind them and more. There's a lot of action behind these guys, but Nicholas Shelton is in front of all of it right here.
Casey Kerwin's just getting kind of penned in here as he's... Oh, we got more trouble on the...
Yeah, big wreck, turn number 2, and it's a big one. Cars all over the place, and looks like that might be Doucette. Yes, the number 40 car. He is absolutely crab walking, and he must have had a heavy hit, and so we saw it coming, I think, because of all the 3 wide, but unsure of what was going on there.
We'll get a replay up for you, but James Milbacher coming out of the pits was on the apron, and I guess he just got on the gas too fast. No, he missed the apron. He was driving too low, hit the grass, lost control of his car, and came up onto the racing surface. So do not know what was going on with that car, but that 20 car somehow just ended up on that racing surface when the entire field was coming around, or at least the back half of the field, and wiped out a bunch of cars.
Oh man, to be that guy. And I think if you're any of these guys in the back of the field that really wanted your chance at the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze series, that this was not how you envisioned the air race happening. I think that's the nicest way I can say it. A lot of guys who put a lot of effort into these cars throughout the week are not going to be happy about that, and that's all of them, you know, regardless of where you stand. So really think that this is a lot bigger than what we expected. That wreck. I just saw a couple cars going the outside lane, and all of a sudden big wreck, and I think there's about 10 cars that are in that. I think Ryan Doucette is still trying to get his car going, but I'm not really sure what that number 40 car is doing right now, but big wreck out of something that definitely was avoidable.
Yeah, it definitely was. And I can understand if you're lap down, you're coming out of the pits, just trying to get yourself up to speed, but you got to know where the apron is. I mean, he was way down on the track, and the apron does open up coming out of the pits, but then going through the corner, as you get to turn 2, it narrows back up to about a single car lane, and he just didn't realize that, hit that grass, panicked, and it just slid him right up into the racetrack.
Right, and I think when it comes down to it, it is going to change the way this race goes entirely. I think what we were talking about earlier just went straight through, or just went straight out the window. Just the fact that pit strategies, basically, like you said, these guys are going to be able to save enough. They're going to be able to make it to the end on one stop, I think. But obviously not about 100%, but more than likely these guys will be able to save fuel, make it to the end on one stop. But remember, cautions, precautions, and although that wasn't the way I expected the cautions to be bred, but I guess that's the way it's gonna be. But look at our top 10 right now. It's Nicholas Shelton, Keegan Leahy in the first and second positions, as they've been basically the entire race. Justin Bolton's in third, Casey Kerwin fourth, Brandon Pipgrass, he's in the 5th position. Then you've got Garrett Lowe, David Rattler, who started from pole. He's still in 7th, hanging on there. Then you've got Stephen Wilson, Brad Mahar, 9th, and then Jacob Harbert. He is in the 10th position. He started 20th, so he's doing a pretty good job of getting himself out of trouble as well.
Yeah, and I kind of felt that there was going to be a caution coming as we were watching that restart there, because I thought that these guys were racing so close together that someone's going to make that small mistake and cause that huge wreck, but definitely was not expecting what we got there. This is going to really shake up the field, as there was a number of cars damaged in that wreck. We've only got 33 cars here on the lead lap now at the moment, and possibly now down to just 32 on the lead lap. So now it comes down to, how are you going to react to this next caution? Are you now going to change up your pit strategy? Is someone maybe going to think, well, maybe I will short pit now since these guys may have a tendency to wreck? Or maybe the guy that's planning on short pitting looks at how many drivers are left and goes, there's going to be a bit more space on the racetrack. Maybe I'll stay out and try to long pit here. And really, it's going to come down to what is the strategy you think is going to be best to really put yourself in that position. So a lot of these guys are going to be talking furiously with their teammates, and there are some guys that are here all on their own, and they're going to be trying to see if they can use a mental calculator here and figure out what they want to do. But it's definitely changed up some strategies for some of these guys.
And if you're in the back, you might as well take your car down pit road, and if you're in the wreck, of course, you got to get that damage taken care of. But if you're any of these guys that didn't get in the wreck and want to go to the back, then they've got nothing to reserve. Although these guys may have made enough of a fuel strategy at this point by shutting off the engine, just clutching, putting the clutch in, turning the vehicle off, and then just going throughout the corners without using that gas. But at the same time, I think these guys were going to be good anyways at the last caution if they were saving gas, making sure that they were able to get to the next, to the midpoint between that and the end of the race. But we'll just have to see. iRacing official pace cars lights are off. Nicholas Shelton will get these guys to another restart. He's brought these guys to the last restart, and he'll bring them to this one as well. And he got a really good restart on that last run. Short-lived as it was, Kelly, but I think that was really important, and maybe has shown how good he was trying to get away from all these guys, as draft is important. If he can get so far away from these guys and they start fighting behind him, he might be able to really get some distance between himself and the rest of the field.
Yeah, but I'm interested in seeing how Casey Kerwin launches here. He had a fantastic start in that last restart, but was just kind of penned in by Justin Bolton, just not having the greatest run there at the start. But Keegan Leahy also had another good start as well, so it's going to be interesting to see as now these guys get a few different positions here, really how they're going to react. So maybe Casey will get a good launch as well as Keegan, and they could possibly take the fight to Nicholas on that high side.
Well, as the drama starts to simmer down, looks like these guys will start to get racing once again. Remember, it's Shelton, Leahy, Bolton, Kerwin, Pitgrass. Bolton lost that position on that exchange on the green flag, but we'll see if he's able to get it back here. iRacing official pace car down and away, and Nicholas Shelton once again gets a good start, and it looks like the number 3 of Casey Kerwin is going to try and go 3 wide right here. He does have him just by a little bit, but that hole is immediately filled by the 1. He's going to go out to maybe give him a bump right here, and this is all sorts of a mess right behind them. It's getting really dicey. Another car coming up pit road, going to be watching that one, but these guys in front, they are getting away nice and clean. 3 wide here between the 42 and company.
Yeah, more problems there for the 4 car as he loses some more ground, loses to Casey Kerwin, and now he's got a few other guys coming up behind him as Justin Bolton really in trouble at this moment as Garrett Lowe moves to the inside. But now that Justin's got himself in a groove, he's got his high side now, he's got some momentum as they go almost 3 wide for just a moment on the front stretch. But the 35 now of Brandon Pipgrass, he dives to the inside, and Brandon had a fantastic start but ended up running into the rear end of Justin Bolton, which killed the momentum he had at the start. But now Brandon, he doesn't want to waste any more time. He wants more positions, clears the 1 car, and he's going to go for more.
It's hard to miss that number 11 of Steven Wilson. His very vibrant pink car is out there, and I'd say if you're a spectator of that guy right there, you're not going to miss him. But at this point, right now, he's done a good job getting himself from 17th to 7th right now, and he's definitely looking for Miller, as Brad Mahar right behind him, trying to get a position as well. And right now, at this stage in the race, these battles are kind of short-lived. They start and go, and then all of a sudden they start to kind of leave because they know how important it is just to go in a straight line because they're going to lose a lot of speed to the next driver. However, going back just outside the top 10, they're going side by side for position. Looks like Robbie Variable Jr. trying to get more positions right in front of this big group right here, and then behind him there's a lot of drivers side by side, and that includes the 42, your pole sitter.
Yeah, the 42 trying to make some moves here, get himself back into a good position, but really he's just kind of stuck on that high side. He's sitting all the way back in 13th after starting on the pole, so definitely not the way that David wanted his race to go. Possibly just not having that setup that he really wanted for the race. I mean, he put down a good qualifying time, but just can't find the race pace anymore as he's moving even further back. I think he's the 14th now, and I think maybe even lost another position to Jarl T in there, and could even lose some more as the 27 dives to the inside, getting some great momentum there through the corner. Michael Carigula, and now he's got really trying to fend off Jeremy Davis as Jeremy's going to try to use that high side to his advantage. So something that David wants to see is the guys behind him battling, but David just has to figure something out for himself and try to get himself moving back towards the front.
Yeah, and like any other race, there's going to be drivers who come to the front, drivers who fall to the back. And as you start to really see the race develop, I can only see the 42 going backwards as he's just not had the speed a lot of these other drivers have had, and he had to set it to get the pole, which is something I'm really curious about. But also remember the weather changes. Looks like we got a lap car. That's the 31 of Benjamin Nelson, who was caught up in that last accident. He's well out of the way of these drivers, but when you start to think about the 42 and just exactly why this is happening, you've got to think about setup, weather, all those things that come into play, because the qualifying may be different from what you have when you come into the server. A lot of these guys and drivers come with basically a toolbox of setups. They come into the session and they see what the weather is. They say, you know what, I think this will work and we can work with it. And they do that in a span of just a few minutes. And perhaps what's going on is the 42's just does not have it right now. Possibly he'll get a little bit of luck later on in the race as they are just absolutely just brake training him on the inside right now.
It definitely doesn't have that setup and just has to find what he can on his pit stops, maybe change the wedge around or maybe change tire pressures. But at the moment he's moving back. He loses even more ground. He's down to 17th, and now losing that position to Adam Benefiel will move him back to 18th. So our pole sitter is going the opposite direction of where he wants to be right now. He's now sitting 18th position and may even lose down to 19th if Glenn Rockefeller is really moving along now.
Looking out just inside the top 5, it looks like the only driver, or looks like all the top 5 drivers, I should say, they are well away from everyone else. When you get to Garrett Lowe, there's a lot of, oh, look at the battle behind them. That's going to be Steven Wilson. We said in that very vibrant 11 car. He just blocked the number 30 of Brad Mahar up the track and is trying to keep that position right there And really, I think at this point, if you try and pass the number 1, you're just going to have a freight train of cars coming by you. And I think that has to do with the 30 as well. They've got themselves a really good cushion between themselves and the guys behind them. And not to try and sound like this is a super speedway, but as soon as you go side by side, there's going to be that wall that those guys behind you, they're just going to have so much more speed. They're going to be able to catch you. And look at Vrabel Jr. I'm really impressed by him. He's trying to get another position from Jacob Harberts, which right now he's in the top 10. So I know we keep talking about him, but I just kind of had a feeling that 18 car had something really good in the cards for him today. And right now he's going to be cracking the 9th position here if he can clear him, which he does not actually. He was very, very close. Almost came up in front of the 16. And that driver himself, he's done a good job getting from 20th to 9th, but he's probably going to have to fall one right here. And no, he's going to fight back. Might go 3 wide. The 18 made a small mistake. The 37 backs out of it. And looks like there's going to be another battle. Oh, here comes a storm of cars. Number 8 of... That looks like it's going to be Kevin King. Gets a couple positions on that lap. And he's going to clear himself. Really, really good opening for him. And he took advantage of it.
Yeah, but here comes the 14 of your LT, and he's got himself a position and got himself a good line that he ran to the inside of turns 1 and 2 there. So some good momentum for him. He just has to get himself set for the next corner. But here comes Robbie Vrabel Jr. He's going to try to make a move again. No, he's actually going to back out of that move, and that almost put him in the reaches of that 8 car and nearly put him 3 wide. But because Jarl has now put himself on that inside, so he wants to make a move, and now Robbie's going to make the move to the inside. He wants that 9th position. He wants to continue his climb to the front. Started in a 31st, now sitting in 9th place at the moment. So a lot of passing being done by Robbie, and he is not done for the night. He wants even more, and I wouldn't be surprised if later on tonight we're talking about him cracking the top 5.
Yeah, and then the battle in front of him looks like the number 30 of Brad Mahar got around both of these guys. He got around, or it looks like the 11 got around the 1, and then the 30 got around both of them. So lap car is going to be just slightly in the way, but it looks like the 11 is going to try the high side right here. He's going to be just barely clear. Actually, he's going to have him on the outside just a little bit here. So while these guys are fighting, it's just really letting everyone in the fight, including Vrabel Jr., who's going to continue to try and pursue more positions as they go side by side here in turns 1 and 2. This is a really good fight, but it's way far away from the leaders as they are seconds, about 4 seconds to be precise, in front of all of this action. And quite frankly, they are very, very calm in this comparison as they are really fighting for these positions here.
And here comes that 14 again, getting a good line for that inside, but Robbie's going to link up those rear end, and he's going to launch off that corner real well, and he's going to get really a run onto that outside of the number 1. And so Robbie Vrabel Jr. continuing his climb to the front, now side by side with the 1, door to door, completely even up, neither of them giving an inch going into the corner. And then that 1 car staying pretty high up off the track through the entry, and really turning down on the until the exit. But Robbie carrying some great momentum, even had a run for on the 11 for a moment there before the 11 cut off that line. So some great driving from Robbie. He really has his line figured out here and knows where the grip is on this track, and it's really showing as he's pretty much looks like his car has just got a completely different set of grip levels from everyone else.
Yeah, I'm starting to talk about those drivers inside the top 5 right now. Looks like Justin Bolton has once again caught Casey Kerwin. Now, when Bolton got that position on pit road, it was really important, but when we had that caution, it put him in a position back, and then it got him 2 positions back behind Kerwin, and it's taken all this time to try and get it back. That's why that pass was so important, because these guys get so spread out here in the top 5, 6, 7 positions that he's still trying to get around the number 3, and then the driver behind, that is going to be Brandon Pipgrass, who's also trying to take advantage of it. But here he comes. Here's the number 4 right here. He's going to try and take his position back that he had earlier. It looks like Casey Kerwin may just try on the outside, but he's not going to be there. So the Ford's going to clear him for that number 3 position right now.
And it seems that as the runs go on, Casey Kerwin just loses so much speed. I mean, he's really strong in the opening. When he's on fresh tires, he has got speed. He has got enough speed that he was able to keep up with Nicholas and Keegan earlier on. But as the run goes on and as those tires wear off, he just loses more and more time over those leaders. And it's really costing him now as Justin Bolton gets around and puts himself back into that 3rd position.
Right, we crossed the halfway point in this race, which means it's time for your mid-race break. presented by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game with professionally organized racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, and many more. Right now, as we go through the field, Nicholas Shelton currently is your leader by half a second over Keegan Leahy. Then you've got Justin Bolton. He's in the 3rd position, and those next three drivers, Bolton, Kerwin, Pitcraft, they are very close together, and so that's your 4th and 5th position as well. Then you've got a lot of drivers that are hungry to get at the front of 6th place. It's going to be Brandon Mahar in 6th, Stephen Wilson 7th, Jarl Tyen. He's in the 8th position, now the 7th position, so move Stephen Wilson back. Then Robbie Vrabel Jr., kind of the underdog right now. He's in 9th place, and then you've got Kevin King in 10th.
At 11th, we see the 1 of Garrett Lowe. 12 goes to the 17 of Jake Nichols. Jacob Harbert's currently sitting at 13th. Brad Davies in 14th. 15th is Glenn Rockefeller Jr. Michael Garigula is sitting in 16th. 17th, Adam Benefiel. 18, Colton Davis. 19th, David Radler. And rounding out the top 20 is currently sitting the 22 of Jeremy B. Davis.
James Curl is in 21st with Blake Bryant. He's in the 22nd position. 23rd is Jesse Schwartz. Then Blade Witt, 24th. You got Nicholas Doucette. He's going to be in the 25th position right now. Chad Coleman, 26th. 27th is going to be Braden Baulos. The 28th is going to be Nathan Lyon. Tyler Laughlin, he's going to be 29th. And then the last car on the lead lap, pretty injured, is at number 30 of Nicholas Morse.
First car 1 lap down is the 41 of Eric Smith. Dallas Pataska is sitting at 32nd. 33rd is Michael Johnson. 34th, Benjamin Nelson. Patrick Millette is sitting at 35th. Ryan Doucette, 36th. Ryan Kuhn, 37th. 38th is Kane Cook. 39th, Chad Lawton. Michael Guest, 40th. 41st is Jane Backler. And Caleb Eisenhower rounds out our 42 car field.
And that's been a look at your iRacing midway race break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities, visit iRacing.com to sign up today. And if you want some of the exclusive promo codes that you didn't get for the last couple of days, or basically if you're a new iRacing subscriber, you can get on iRacing for 3 months or a year for a very good discounted price. So you can go to iRacing.com/World of Outlaws. So as we cross halfway, Nicholas Shelton continues to lead, but not by much since we just last talked about it. That lead has come down a little bit that last time, but we'll catch that action in just a little bit. We're going to go to commercial, and we'll get all the action just around the corner. Welcome back to the Auto Club Speedway for the Pro Series, as Nicholas Shelton has just lost the lead to Keegan Leahy. He's now done the same thing twice. So that looks like the 21 machine. He will get the lead, and we'll see if he pulls away like he did earlier on. Those lines are so different between the two drivers, and I have to imagine here, Kelly, that the reason why the 2 is losing out is just because he's going so much farther down the track and using a lot more of his tires. So battle for the lead is not over yet. The number 2, Nicholas Shelton's trying to get him back right here. He's very, very close right now.
Yeah, he backed off a little bit on entry there, trying to see if maybe he can get a better launch off the corner to go after Keegan Leahy. But Nicholas is, if he can't get that launch, he's in a lot of trouble, because that lift there, that little checkup that he had on that entry, put a bit of a gap between him and Keegan. So if Keegan just runs a smooth line and runs the exact same line that Nicholas is, which it really is looking like at this moment, I mean, Keegan has opened up a bit of a gap, and it looks like that gap has even grown going through turns 3 and 4. So some good driving from Keegan, and possibly Nicholas maybe has run off those tires a little too much, or maybe Keegan's just a bit better on those worn tires. But they're definitely going to be approaching pit stops within probably the next 7 laps or so.
Eric Girard, this is the longest green flag run we've had so far in this race, in a couple of laps, that is. As the first one was about 32 laps long, and so as they get to pit stops, I think that'll be, be exactly to where these guys are liking it. So basically, when you start looking through the field, just about everyone up to the 8th position is pretty far away from each other. That's Brad Mahar in the 8th position, and Robbie Vrabel Jr., he's in the 9th position. Then 10th on back is getting pretty clumped up, but there are not really many side-by-side battles, except for, it looks like right here, the 32 of Adam Benefiel. He is trying to get that position in front of him. Sorry, I had a little cough there, Kelly. He's trying to go on the bottom right here, but they're kind of stacked up right here, just outside the top 15.
Yeah, he had to back out there as Michael was trying to make a move on the 16 of Jacob Harberts, but Jacob just kind of chopped off the 27 a little bit, forcing the 27 to drop to the bottom side, and Adam Benefiel realized that the real estate on that bottom was running out, so he backed out. But at the moment here, he's just trying to find a way to get around. As the 27, some great speed through the middle of the corner, but again, cut off by the 16.
And this is where everyone starts to get single file. Getting ready for pit stops is pretty difficult when you're going side by side. And right now, there's really no battles at the moment. I think everyone's just kind of done their own thing. But looking through the field, I think right now, yeah, well, Shelton's lost quite a bit of speed on the number 21 right now. And with a lap car between them, I almost thought it was farther, but I think that's almost getting closer to a second each and every lap. So I think Keegan Leahy is definitely put on the wick later on in this run, and definitely the setup is really built towards the longer run. It's actually only 7/10, but still 3/4 of a second. Still a really big amount of time between yourself and the next driver, and that's only the first and second interval. I mean, you go throughout the field, and he's got such a lead over everyone else. It's such a large lead right now, but I'm seeing some fighting going around the 15th position. Talk about 3 wide here with the 42, 16, and 27.
Yeah, but I believe Jacob Harberts just declared over the radio his intent to pit, and I think there will be a few other drivers, because at this point in time, they will be able to make it to the end of the race. So the 16 and the 27 both pull off and head down pit road, and this may be the start of of the entire field coming down within the next few laps, as Colton Davis also comes down with them, as well as Jesse Schwartz and a few other drivers. So really, we'll have to see if the leaders decide to make a move soon. But Keegan Leahy's actually lost a little bit of ground that time around, as Nicholas Shelton cut that lead from 7/10 down to just half a second.
Looks like Casey Kerwin and Jarl Tyen are also down pit road, as those are the 2 drivers that were highest on the leaderboard before then. Here comes Justin Bolton coming down pit road, and it looks like Kevin King and a whole host of other drivers. Brad Mahar almost gets ran into by Garrett Lowe, and he somehow doesn't wreck the car coming on down pit road, and definitely was really close right there. You got Adam Benefiel and Steven Wilson coming down pit road as well, so a lot of cars coming down pit road. But I'd say if you've got the advantage of time over everybody, which that's what Leahy and Shelton have right now, why not stay out? So that's exactly what they're doing. Is looks like they may be looking for it this time. Not slowing down yet. here comes the 21 of Keegan Lay. Here comes your leader. He's going to come down pit road, surrenders the lead to Nicholas Shelton, and this is where the turning point of the race is.
And there was a bit of a wiggle from Leahy as he came down pit road, but able to keep that car under control. So that may have just been him really waiting to the very last moment to brake, and that's really what you want to do: hit that that pit road speed limit at 60 and not go anywhere below 60 until you get to that line, or sorry, 55 at this track. Not hit that pit road limit until you get to that line. So we'll have to see if Nicholas responds on this lap, or if he's going to go for even further, and he is going to stay on that high side. So Nicholas is going to continue, and he doesn't want to use those fresh tires at the beginning of his run. He wants the fresh tires at the end of his run. So Nicholas might stay out until he's almost out of fuel and really needs go down pit road. So, but when he eventually does come down pit road, it's going to put him a little bit further back from Keegan after everything's said and done. So at the moment, it may seem like Nicholas will be putting himself in a bad position, but as our final run wears on, he may be the one that has a bit of an advantage.
It looks like just over 30 laps to go here, as yes, Nicholas Shelton is going to come down pit road, so this is where he's going to make his decision. So he'll have a 30-lap run to the finish here. Those drivers out there right now, much faster than him right now. He knows it, knows he's going to come down pit road, but also knows he might have some good space between himself and everyone else. So right now, Shelton's coming down pit road. He can't make any mistakes right here if he wants to try and win this race. He's already got a win on the season, but we have not had a repeat winner, and Shelton and Leahy have been doing a really good job of trying to convince everyone else and us that they are going to win this one.
It was a great job getting into his box by Nicholas Shelton. That car moved in clean, moved in perfectly, and I think he stopped bang on his marks, maybe even just a little bit too far to the left though, but a good stop from him. We'll have to see where he filters out. He's down and away finally and getting back out onto the racetrack, so we'll have to see where he's going to come out, where Keegan Leahy is. Keegan has already passed him though. Keegan now coming through turn number 4 as Nicholas is still getting up to, sorry, going through turn number 2 as Nicholas is just getting up to speed, now getting out of 2. So just staying out those few extra laps kind of cost him in the short run, but possibly in the long run, as those tires wear off, he might be able to get himself back into that battle for the lead.
We went as low as 10 cars on the lead lap, and we've got 30 back now on the lead lap, and that will even get just a little bit bigger as as we are getting everyone cycled on through. Braden Boulos, I'm probably messing that up, and I apologize, but he looks like he is going to lead a couple laps here, as he is right now the leader. Definitely won't be a leader for long, probably hoping for a caution, as a couple other drivers like Chad Coleman, Tyler Laughlin, Nathan Lyon, those guys will continue to stay out there. But the driver right behind these guys, it appears to be Casey Kerwin, who is leading the rest of these drivers. He was one of the first drivers to come down pit road. He is currently leading the drivers that would assume the lead once these guys have to pit. And I think it's a good call. The fact that he needed the track position, he was so far behind. I mean, he was multiple seconds behind that number 21 machine. And he's not losing all of it right now. He will, I think, just a matter of the tires game with him, and the fact that he was losing speed to begin with on the even tires. But I think it's a good strategy for the number 3 to try and get position in case the caution comes out.
Yeah, and also he does have a bit of an advantage just trying to control the pace of this race. He can try to block Keegan as much as possible and just make it difficult for Keegan to pass him. But really at a track like this, it's kind of difficult to run a block because there is just so much space for you to work with. It's already a very wide track, and then you've got that apron on the front stretch that you can use. So really, if he's going to try to block, it's going to be difficult. So he's going to have to really just run the best laps that he can at this point and try to keep Keegan behind him for as long as possible and hope that he only has to maybe block him 2 or 3 laps. But the way that Keegan is catching up to them, I think it's going to be really his time is running out here, and Casey's going to be within his reach very shortly.
And when we say block, I think these guys know that this is still an official series under the iRacing banner, so it still goes under the sporting code, so you can definitely continue to defend. We have seen blocking, like the keyword blocking, but I think Keegan or Casey knows that he's still got himself a really good race on his hands. And really, I mean, I think he is still losing a little bit to Leahy right there, but I think Casey right now is, I don't think he's losing that much time. I actually think he's doing a pretty good job, as he's going to come to 25 laps to go. All these drivers are right now, and I think he's still doing a pretty good job of keeping that interval between those drivers pretty good right now.
And if Casey can just keep running these laps at the pace that he is right now, he may actually be opening up this gap on Keegan. So some good driving from Casey at this point, but we've seen a few times here tonight that he doesn't quite have that car with him in the long run. So maybe he made a change to that car as they came down pit road, and it's helping him out a little bit more. And we'll have to see as the tires wear off. Is he gonna fall back towards Keegan, or is he gonna hold his position at this moment? Because while there is a few more cars in front of him at the moment, Casey is effectively the leader because those 4 cars in front of him have yet to pit.
That's right, and even if they try and stay out and stretch the field, these guys are so much faster than them. In the few laps that we've been following these drivers up towards the front, 3 seconds has been cut off from these guys in the last few laps, so it's almost a second per lap between these guys. They're running, Casey Kerwin and company, they're running low 38s, and your leaders are running 40-second laps. Oh, it's a caution flag! This is going to change everything. Where is it at? And where are those lap cars? Oh, it's the 11. That very bright car that we saw earlier. Don't know if he hit anything, but it looks like he did get spun out by the number 1 right there on the straightaway. Oh man, that's going to be a fun conversation to have with the number 1. It definitely was a racing deal, but man, that was a hard break for the number 11 right there late in the goings of this race.
Yeah, definitely just not a good moment for him at this point in the race. I don't think he took any damage. He was able to keep it off the wall and not hit anything, just kind of a spin through the apron, but he definitely will lose a lot of track position, and that's definitely important at this stage of the race, because the track position that he lost, he does not have very much time to regain that, and he went from being really in that battle for 14th. Just after that spin, he's now down 29th, so Steven Wilson definitely not in a good position after that little spin.
Yeah, he's going to go all the way from what looks like he was going to probably be just inside the top 10 after pit cycles were done, but he's going to be all the way in the 30th position or so, so definitely not good for him. I'm sure that number 11 will be able to probably come back through the field and get a good amount of positions back, but I don't think he'll be able to get even close to the top 10 with that. And I think when you're Garrett Lowe, I think it's really difficult to pin blame on the 11. He kept his car extremely straight, and Garrett was trying to do the old super speedway bump draft, and it just went really wrong. So as these guys are coming to pit road, gotta remember that the first 3 cars here, Boulos, Chad Coleman, Tyler Laughlin, and throw Nathan Lyon in there as well, those drivers are they were doing the strategy from earlier, so they're going to be coming and probably being the leaders once these pit stops are done, and they were not the fastest drivers by far. They were all outside the top 20 when they gridded.
Yeah, so really some good luck for those drivers, but this is such a vital pit stop at this stage of the race. This could win or lose you the race here, so really any mistake will be magnified. It looks like the 3 was just a little bit crooked on pit entry, but it did have a good entrance for himself, and looks like there are a few drivers maybe even taking 2-tire strategy. As Brandon Pipgrass comes from 7th to the lead, and Nicholas Shelton, he's also got himself actually in the lead, so he wins that race off of pit road from 6th place back to 1st. So it looks like the Brandon Boulos, he'll still be sitting in a good position. I think he's 3rd after those stops, but a good strategy call from Nicholas Shelton and Brandon Pipgrass. We'll have to see if that 2-tire strategy will hurt them, though.
I think the 2-tire strategy is going to be good for Nicholas Shelton, and I think that's probably about it. Maybe Brandon will be able to really gain on it, but you as a leader right now, you really hope that a lot of other drivers take 2 tires, so you can have a little bit of a cushion between yourself and those drivers with 4 tires. When it all settles out, I think the first driver with 4 fresh tires is going to be Casey Kerwin. and he's going to be right in front of Justin Bolton, who once again got a really good stop. And then Keegan Leahy's going to be pretty far back. I think he definitely has the winning car in terms of speed and endurance on this track. But right now he's going to be putting in a really difficult position to get the win with 20 laps to go, as we see right now. And as these guys get all filed through, it'll be Shelton, Pipgrass, Boulos, and then Harberts in the number 16, and Tyler Laughlin. And you cannot blame these guys for trying the strategy. They know how important each point is to making the Pro Series and getting in that top 10. And so really these guys are trying to do everything they can to get just get as many points there are. I think some of these guys know that they're not going to be very fast, but they know that they will be in a much better position at this rate. That's why those guys did that pit stop strategy earlier, and they are really benefiting from it.
Yeah, just because you don't win the race doesn't mean you had a bad night. Just getting a good points finish is extremely vital here in this series. So definitely a good call from a lot of these drivers. And I think actually the first car that's on 4 tires is that 9 of Braden Boulos. I just looked at his stop there, and it looks like both sides of his car went up. So he's sitting in third with 4 tires. He had a fantastic stop to just really situate himself back to the front, but completely surrounded by those guys on 2. So if that grip is really different between those cars, he may have a legitimate shot at taking the win from these guys.
Yeah, definitely. And really wondering what this restart is going to be like, because when it comes to the green flag here, I think it's going to be a complete pandemonium, just because of the fact that we've got a lot of different skill levels in this top group, and a lot of different setups that are here as well, and a lot of slower drivers are in this particular pack up here towards the front. So I think these guys behind him know that, are going to be as cautious as possible. I think Kerwin, Bolton, and Keegan Leahy are going to be very cautious, knowing that they're in a pretty difficult position. I think Keegan is really in a bad position because he's got even 2 more drivers in front of him that weren't originally up there, including Nathan Lyon, who is really banking on that strategy on that caution. So if we run them down top to bottom, top 10, it's going to be Nicholas Shelton, Brandon Pipgrass, Braden Boulos, Jacob Harbert, Tyler Laughlin, Jake Nichols, Casey Kerwin, Justin Bolton, Nathan Lyon, and then Jeremy B. Davis is your top 10. So that is where we stand with about 13 to go here. It's definitely going to be quite, I think, a very exciting race to the finish. Actually, I can't count. It's going to be like 17 laps to go, or 18 to go when we get the green flag. I can't count here, Kelly.
You got there eventually, but yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting restart. Probably the most exciting restart we've had all night, because everyone's going to be trying to go for every little single small gap that there is out there, because every position matters so highly at the end of this race, because we are definitely running low on time for this race.
And there goes the pace car down and away. Nicholas Shelton has controlled all the restarts tonight, and he will control this one. You can see all the strategies behind him start to play out. And Brandon Pipgrass actually gets a really good restart as well. You can see 3 wide already for the 5th position right here. And I think Pipgrass is looking for his chance to strike. And all these cars all over the place behind them. And where will the first driver flinch? Looks like nobody's having any issues right now, but it's getting very dicey. 4, maybe even 5 wide there in the pack, but it's all towards the front. This top 5 looks like Jacob Harberts has the 3rd position, and he's keeping a hold of it right here in front of Jake Nichols and Brandon Boulos.
And Casey Kerwin has already started carving his way up through those drivers that took 2 tires. He's pulled himself alongside the 7. He's following right behind Justin Bolton, who's pulled away from the 9. Oh, big bit of problems for Braden Boulos, having some struggles there in that 9 car. Nearly got turned by the 7 and up into the wall, but able to keep control of that car. But he will lose ground to the 3 and the 4, and possibly even the 7 now, as Tyler Laughlin is trying to make a move on that inside there.
Yeah, those 4 tires are absolutely king when it comes to these last 15 laps that'll be. And if you're the drivers up front, the last thing you want to caution, because that just brings everyone back up into the picture. And if you're these guys with 4 tires, you want these drivers to get out of your way. I'm just watching the number 21 of Keegan Leahy struggle, and he's actually boxed in the middle, 3 wide right now. And oh, so close between himself and the 7 right there. Going into turn number 1, he's got nowhere to go. He's just trying to get the position as good as he can, but with those 4 tires, there's only so much you can do when you're boxed in like that. So right now, he still does not have the position, and he's just losing so much time. Definitely the race favorite in terms of raw long-term speed, but it's the short speed and the strategy that might get this one. And I'm looking at Justin Bolton. He's in 5th place right now, and he's the first driver on 4 tires. He got around Casey on that restart, so definitely watching that number 4 as he's going to try and carve his way through the front.
Yeah, that 21 of Keegan Leahy has finally broke himself free from those cars that were running on 2 tires. He's got himself just a little bit of a gap before he gets to the next one in the 17 of Jake Nichols. But Keegan definitely cost him a lot of time when he was struggling and getting boxed in there. But that definitely gives a bit more of an advantage to Justin Bolton and Casey Kerwin. They're slowly catching up on Jacob Harberts, who's, again, one of those drivers that only took 2 tires. And look at the speed difference between the 4 and the 16. There is just so much more of an advantage to the F4 tire strategy, and it's really going to help out Justin Bolton and Casey Kerwin. And I'm sure Nicholas Shelton's got to be nervous seeing those guys' names climb through the leaderboard, but he has definitely opened up quite a bit of a gap. He's got 6/10 between him and the 2nd place driver, Brandon Pipgrass. So even after Justin Bolton and Casey Kerwin get around that 16 car, there's still quite a bit of a ways to go to catch up to Nicholas.
You got to imagine that Brandon is on the same strategy as Nicholas, and kind of was in the same in the same skill group as him too. So I think you got to think that Brandon is not going to lay over that easily for these guys either, which is going to be what Nicholas is going to have to need, I think. I think these guys are just way too fast at this point. When these guys cross the start-finish line, they're going over 204 miles an hour, and these guys are going blazing speeds here. And the fact that right now the difference in time is about, looks like about 4 or 5 tenths that last time, but they are also passing cars, they're also passing cars, so the difference is going to get there as these tires wear off. I think that Brandon Pipgrass might follow the clutches, but I actually think that Nicholas is doing a pretty good job of getting himself enough space and just running a very consistent line right now.
And that gap is actually opening up, but looking back in the field, Keegan Leahy, he's moved past Jacob Harberts. So if there's someone that's on a tear and wants to win this race, it's Keegan. He's already started to close that gap on Kerwin and Bolton, but I just do not think there's enough time left in this race to catch up to Nicholas, as they're now under 12 laps to go, and this next time by they're going to be down to 11 here, and really it's not enough time to catch up to Nicholas when you're trailing by 1.5 seconds.
Oh yeah, definitely not. And he might be able to get a position from Brandon Pipgrass, but this top 5 consists of only 2 cars with that new strategy, and actually make that 3 with Keegan Leahy. That's the 4 tire strategy. So next time by, we'll have 10 laps to go, and I think we'll really get to see a good picture of what's going to happen. And I think Bolton right now is kind of stalled out a little bit, and I think that's why Casey Kerwin's able to really get to him right now. I think maybe Bolton has done a little bit, but here's a caution. This is what these guys did not want to see. We're going to have a caution. It looks like it's going to be on the back straightaway. Perhaps the number 1 of Garrett Lowe is involved. Yes, looks like he got turned by the 11 in turn number 2. Weren't those guys having contact before? Looks a little close, but
they were running 3 wide.
Yeah, it does not look like it was intentional. I think that's just a little bit of a coincidence, but kind of ironic how that came around.
Yeah, they tangled earlier on in this race, and they tangled once more there, coming through turn 2 there. Just a couple cars running 3 wide there, and I think everyone was just racing a little hard there. And it also seems maybe just a little bit of connection issues between the 2, because that back end kicked out real quick, and he actually nearly saved that. Give some credit to number 1. He tried to hold on to that car as well as he could, but he just wasn't quite possible. But definitely some good attempt by the 1, and surprisingly he's got no damage as he made it to that to the inside apron clean.
I will say though that the 11 definitely threw the car down into the corner, and he moved up the track. So I definitely say that the 11 knew exactly what he was doing right there. And I think we'll just show the replays and let everyone else be the kind of be the judge right there. But I think what happened to Garrett was definitely due in part to the 11 getting down in the corner a little too hot and then washing up. And I think the 11 definitely did that with a little bit of intent. With just kind of how far back he came in through the corner. I mean, he was side by side with the 39 on the front straightaway, and then when he's in the corner, he's already in front of the one. There's no way he could make the corner. So I think definitely that's the way I see it, at least.
Yeah, but now talking about what's happening in the front of the field, Justin Bolton, Casey Kerwin, and Keegan Leahy, they were all over 1.5 seconds back from Nicholas Shelton. When we go green, they're going to be within just feet of that driver, and that's definitely something that Nicholas Shelton and Brandon Pipgrass as well did not want to see, because remind you, those two were on a 2-tire stop, while Bolton, Kerwin, and Leahy were all on a 4-tire stop. So definitely put an advantage of those 3 drivers, and Nicholas, he's just going to have to hope for really the best launch that he possibly can have off this next restart, and just open up a bit of a gap that Bolton, Kerwin, and Leahy just won't have enough time to catch up to, because by the time we go back green, we may have only 5 laps to go.
Yeah, right, you are. And I think when you start to look at exactly how this is being played out, Shelton and Bolton, Shelton and Pipgrass, I think they have a very slim chance of making it in the top 5 if they're not careful, because I think Shelton's got a good chance, but I think Pipgrass is probably going to have this one served to him, and I think he's not going to be able to do a lot here, just with the fact that those right side tires are those left side tires are pretty used up. He's not going to be able to go full steam into each one of these corners like he would with 4 tires. I think Shelton's got a chance to keep holding on, but this strategy is kind of backfired a little bit. With the long run, I think we saw him going the distance and going for the win, but I actually think Bolton has one of the best chances of winning this race, just because of the fact that he's been fast in these last 15 laps or so. Or sorry, it's probably around 14 or so. 14 or so laps. He's been faster than the 3, and definitely he's faster than the 2 in front of him. And if he gets a good jump, I think that 4 car has one of the best shots at winning.
Yeah, definitely an opportunity for Justin Bolton, but he hasn't been very strong on these restarts the last few times. So there's possibly a bit more of an advantage to Casey Kerwin, or maybe even Keegan Leahy if he gets a good start as well and finds a gap to get around Justin Bolton. So Justin has to figure out what he's been doing wrong in these last few restarts and figure out what he needs to do to correct that to get this good launch here, because this is absolutely vital to him. If he bogs down on this start, that's going to be the end of it. He's going to have those 2 other drivers go flying past him, and Nicholas Shelton will be out of his reach.
That would be what Nicholas, I think, is wanting to do, is trying to get far away so that no one can touch him. I have a hard feeling that's going to happen, but he's got to really nail this restart. We're only going to have about 6 laps to go when it comes down to it. If we get the iRacing's official pace cars lights off, which I assume we will with these guys double filing here. So if the 35 can get a good restart, I think that would be it'd be good for that outside lane. But I'd say that Kerwin is in a sort of bad position, but you can't forget about 21 either. Keegan Leahy's right there too, and I think you said it earlier, is we can't forget about him and how fast he was. And whenever he got clear of all those guys, he absolutely made some hay with that number 21 machine. So I think a lot of stories to think about right here. The 2's got to give himself a really good restart. The 3's got to try and get around the 35 when the green flag drops, because I don't think that if you're not the leader and you're on the outside right there in position number 2, it's going to be really, really difficult to get going, and with less tires. So a lot going on here.
I mean, it's usually very difficult for that outside line, for that just that second position mainly, because they're kind of having to look out the side window. But Brandon had a good restart on that last start, so he had a pretty good jump, was able to keep hold with Shelton, at least for that first straightaway. But as soon as they got into the corner, that's where Nicholas really started to pull away. So watch for Pipgrass to really get a good jump as well. But it really, once they get to the corner, he's going to struggle. And I'd say the advantage at that point will go towards Kerwin and Bolton. And at that point, it's going to be which one of those drivers is going to have the easier time passing that 35 as they try to chase down Shelton.
So everything we've talked about in the last few laps, we'll see what happens in the end. Number 2, Nicholas Shelton has to get on the pedal soon. There he goes. The green flag is in the air. The outside lane gets a really good restart. And the 3 is going to make it 3 wide. The outside lane gets the really good restart here. This is where it's going to matter. And so it looks like Shelton's going to try and get it right down the bottom. Brandon Pipgrass has an equally good run right here. And so it's going to be side by side for the lead. Pipgrass has a good lead on the outside.
A bit of more speed to Nicholas Shelton. He's going to keep it completely even now going into turn 3 and 4, and no one behind them can try to make a move. Look at the 3 of Casey Kerwin. We actually got a caution, and I believe that may end the race.
We may actually have a shootout, but which one of these drivers was out front? It might have been Shelton by just a hair. I don't know who spun out on the back straightaway, but I'll find out in just a second.
41.
And the 23 might have been involved in some way, shape, or form or fashion.
41 got turned by the 1.
Oh, wow. It looks like we'll have to get a couple replays to see just exactly what happened, but looks like that's exactly what happened earlier.
Oh, we had 2 separate incidents.
Yeah, it happened before that, so it's kind of...
Blade Witt got turned and some big accidents there, and then the 1 turned the 42 or 41, sorry, and that was definitely 2 separate incidents there.
That's typical whenever you get to the late goings of a race like this. You know what's on the line. You know how many points are there. Looks like the 22 tried to go 4 wide.
Now all these drivers are going to shape up once more, and we'll have to see who did get that lead, and I think it might have been Shelton.
Yeah, more than likely what's more than likely going to probably happen here. We're just going to have a 1-lap shootout, but we don't know yet. So we just can't really tell for sure exactly what's going to happen. Looks like we're having a little bit of internet issues here, but I think we got everything fixed on our side. But in all intents and purposes, this is really good for Nicholas and Brandon. I mean, despite how much I thought they were going to be at a disadvantage, they did a really good job of really just kind of defending their position and making it so that they both had a really good restart and got through the corners really well. So I think right here, if the 2 and the 35 get as good of a restart as they did, I think perhaps it's going to be really difficult for Casey Kerwin, Justin Bolton, or anyone else to win this race. While we start to pace, we'll start to find out if we get a restart. I think we'll get at least 1 lap here. We're under 5 to go. We got the caution with 6 laps to go, coming to 5. If we had the 5 to go, we would definitely not have a restart, but I do believe we'll at least have a 1-lap shootout at the very least, as the pace car is still in front of these drivers. On lap number 97 of 100. Just over 2 hours, 1 hour in this race. Getting late in this race, but I think we might actually have 2 to green here when they start going through. So I think right now is a really good time to look at where these top 10 drivers are, because it's going to probably change at least a little bit before the end of this race. So Nicholas Shelton, he is in the lead. Brandon Pipgrass is in second. Casey Kerwin, he's in the 3rd position. Justin Bolton's 4th. Keegan Leahy, he is still in 5th place. Jacob Harberts, he's in the 6th position with Jarl Tyen. He's in 7th. He's doing a pretty good job. Jake Nichols, he's in 8th. And then you got Rybu Vrabel Jr. He's done a really good job of staying in the 9th position after coming up a long ways throughout the field. And then you've got Kevin King in 10th. So right now, iRacing Pace Car still has its lights on. I think we will have the green flag at 99 laps of 100, and we'll have a 2-lap shootout here at the Auto Club Speedway with the Pro Series Championship on the line. Only the top 10 drivers will make it. It's all depending on these few races that they have to run, and each race matters quite a bit to these drivers. So all the accidents that we've had, those drivers are going to lose out on a lot of points. And cannot forget about those second split races where there was a fairly large wreck in that one as well. But when you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, if you finish in the top 10 of split 1, you've gotten yourself the most points out of any split that you can get, which I think is very pivotal. And these guys do get a off week per se. They can race all the weeks, but they will get one drop race. So as these guys race, if they have one like tonight where it just didn't go their way, they may have a chance to redeem themselves as the races continue. But right now, it's all a matter of the nerves, I think, for these drivers up front with Nicholas Shelton and Brandon Pipgrass. With these guys being up front, I think they're just methodically thinking of exactly how they're going to approach this restart. Nicholas Shelton, he waited to the very last moment, I think, to make that approach towards the green flag, and I think we're getting doubled up right here, so I think we're going to get that 2-lap shootout. And yes, pace car's lights are off. Actually, it looks like we're going to get a 1-lap shootout here. So 1-lap shootout is what we're going to get. I think for these guys up front, that's just the amount of time that they need to try and win this race and defend the position. So I think we're going to, I'd say we're probably going to go 3 or 4 wide going to turn 1, and it may not go so well, but we are going to make it to the white flag, and when that white flag shows, there's not going to be a caution to stop it. These guys will make it to the start-finish line. Whoever makes it back to the checkered flag first will be the winner. So definitely going to be, I think this one will be fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely going to be a very tense moment for these guys, and I think everyone's nerves are just a little bit fried at this moment, and I think tension is running high as all the different possibilities run through their head as they get set for this 1-lap shootout. I mean, everyone's going to go for every little gap they've got, and with no caution flags, nothing's going to stop us, so we probably will have a few more cars get into each other on that backstretch, but these guys up front aren't going to care. They're going to keep those pedals planted to the floor, and really, it's going to have to see in 1 lap's time who's going to win this race.
And I would not be surprised to see the number 3 of Casey Kerwin to go 3 wide, as he did earlier on that last restart. That was on the outside. It's more beneficial for him if he can get the inside right here. Hold your breath. This is going to be the one restart that decides everything, as you see everyone start to bunch up, and he goes already. Nicholas Shelton gets really good on the gas really early, and so he'll be side by side with the 35. I don't think anyone was expecting him to go so early, and there's a lot of drivers throughout the field that are 3 wide already, and it is already the one to go. Nicholas Shelton has a good lead over Brandon Pipgrass through turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, but take a look at Casey Kerwin. He's gaining just a little bit on that 35, but the 35 getting a good run through the corner and is able to hold up just enough speed. But it looks like Nicholas Shelton, with no challenge to him, will take a good commanding lead on this last little bit. No one's going to have enough time to get around him. Big problems for the 3. He's going to get way up the track, almost into the wall, but the 2 of Nicholas Shelton will win this race.
He's going to come across the start-finish line, and they will have a 2-time winner in the Pro Series. So Nicholas Shelton won week 2, and he's going to win week 4. So Nicholas Shelton, he will get the win. And as they were wrecking down the back straightaway, said no caution was going to end this one as fireworks go off. And a very clean one. I think that was definitely the approach that he had to have. He had to get these guys off guard on that restart, and he did exactly that. I think the only one who wasn't off guard was the 35. He was ready for it, and all the guys behind him were not as ready as they were on that second to last restart. So big couple congratulatory bumps and hits on his number 2 machine as he gets his 2nd win on the Pro Series, which is extremely important for these teams. If you can get a couple wins in here, it's really, really important. And we only saw a few winners last season as the champion of the NASCAR Peak Anti-Free Series stole them all from everyone. So Nicholas Shelton, he'll come to the start-finish line. We'll see what kind of tricks and donuts he's able to do, and he will burn it down right in front of us. And while he does that, we will go through where everyone finished tonight and see where your favorite drivers finished. Nicholas Shelton, of course, gets the win. He'll park it here in Victory Lane, and you'll have Brandon Pipgrass finishing a solid 2nd position. Casey Kerwin finishes 3rd. Justin Bolton 4th. Keegan Leahy, he finished in the 5th position. That's actually how they started that last restart. Jarl Tyen got a couple positions on that last one, as well as Kevin Keane. They'll finish 6th and 7th. Jake Nichols, he'll finish 8th. Michael Gurley, he'll finish in the 9th position, and then Robbie Brable Jr. finishes 10th. But he's not our biggest mover, is he, Kelly?
No, that definitely will not be the biggest mover, as Colton Davis rallies from 40th position, getting a provisional to start this race, finishes in 11th. 12th goes to Jacob Harberts. Braden Boulos finishes 13th. 14th, Brad Davies. James Curl in 15th. 16th goes to Blake Bryant. Garrett Lowe finishes 17th. 18th to the 11 of Stephen Wilson. The 36 of Nicholas Doucette finishes 19th, and Jesse Schwartz comes home 20th.
In the 21st position is going to be David Rattler after starting from pole position. Nathan Lyon finishes 22nd. Eric J. Smith finishes 23rd. Jeremy B. Davis finishes 24th. Tyler Laughlin finishes 25th. Chad Coleman 26th. 27th is Michael Moore with Blade Witt finishing in the 28th position. And Adam Benefield finishes 29th. Glenn Rockefeller, I think he was spun out on the back straightaway, and he'll finish in the 30th position.
That would be the last car at the lead lap as Dallas Pataska finishes 31st, 3 laps down. Benjamin Nelson finishes 32nd, 33rd to Brad Mahar. Michael Johnson 34th, 35th to Caleb Eisenhower. Kane Cook finishes 36th, 37th to Ryan Kuhn. Michael Guest finishes 38th, Ryan Doucette 39th. Patrick Mallet finishes 40th, Chad Lott 41st, and rounding out this 42-car field is James Milbackler.
And that is your 42 car field and where they finish, and we will talk to some of the finishers. More than likely we'll talk to Nicholas Shelton and possibly Casey Kerwin, but we might get a few others in here as well, so you'll want to stick around and hear what they have to say about tonight's race at the Auto Club Speedway. So you've been watching the Pro Series here on iRacing Live, and we'll be right here in just a bit. Welcome back to Auto Club Speedway as we just watched the conclusion of the 4th round of the Pro Series. Nicholas Shelton, he got the win, and we'll talk to him right now. We're going to talk to him in victory lane. Nicholas in the number 2 machine gets the victory, and Nicholas, you had to have had a really good restart under your belt in order to get this win. I think you knew that coming to it, and you were on the pedal very quickly, and I think I was not expecting you to get so quickly off the gas, and you got really far away from Casey and Justin and Brandon as well. Talk to us with what was going on through your head on that last restart, because whatever it was really good.
Well, good thing was I had a teammate beside me, so I could give a countdown and we could try to go together in a turn 1. So I had a buffer if I could get the lead with a teammate. So my thought was to try to get him going, get him to be clear, and then get myself cleared. And I knew I couldn't go late because they'd start running us over like they did the restart before. So I just had to do something a little earlier, but not as soon as the pace car turned.
Yeah, definitely caught everyone behind you off guard, and yeah, I did notice that you and Brandon were definitely step by step there. I believe you two were definitely working really well together, especially coming to that caution that kind of changed everything. I think that's what I was really wanting to get to, is the fact that you guys made that strategy call of 2 tires together, and it ended up paying off for you guys in a really good way. Did you guys think that you were going to have the advantage on that initial run whenever the green flag dropped when you guys took 2 tires?
Yeah, the decision to do that was Ray Alfala's decision, and at first I didn't like it, but after we pitted and I saw the left side tires were not even worn at all, I thought we'd be okay. I thought we'd be just a little bit slower, like a tenth, and we were, but we had such a buffer to everybody, I thought we could be okay. And I was just more worried about when the caution came out with 8 to go or whatever, 9 to go, and they were going to be on our bumper. That's when I was worried about it.
Yeah, and talk about getting saved by the bell with that caution that did come out with about 6 to go. At that point in the race, did you know that you had a really good chance at winning the race?
Yeah, I thought for sure that, I mean, as long as I got through the gears and then through turn 1 correctly, I was fine. I just had to make sure I timed the restart right and got away from the field.
Well, Nicholas, you're the first 2-time winner this season in the 2017-2018 season. I know that's got to feel really good for yourself, your team, and everyone else involved. And like you said, you have some helpful friends out there. Who else makes it happen for you in the number 2 machine?
Well, I'd like to thank Slip Angle and everybody that helps on the setups, and I'd like to thank Ray for being my crew chief and helping me with the great calls tonight. And that's pretty much it.
All right, there you have it. Nicholas Shelton gets his 2nd win on the season. We might hear more from him in the future. Thanks for giving us a little bit of your time there, Nicholas.
Thank you.
And we will pop it down to the next driver in the order. I'm going to give it to Kelly Dahl, who's caught up with Brandon Pipgrass.
Yeah, I'm here with Brandon Pipgrass, and Brandon, you and your teammate really stole the front row here at this race, and really, did it really come down to him helping you out on that restart? Were you just there to help block him for that win, or were you trying to maybe see if you had a chance to go after him yourself?
Oh no, it was definitely like a gentleman's agreement, but how the field was, they were all trying to predict it and stuff. You know, I just kind of had to go for it at that point. But I mean, I wanted to help Nick get in line and just have us run away with it. But if we had the race for it, we were gonna.
Do you ever feel nervous that those guys with 4 tires behind you maybe had an advantage, or were you very confident with your 2-tire call at the end of the race there?
Well, going back to Homestead last week, 2 tires with Keegan worked really well. So we were contemplating a 4, but 4 would have put us back in like 14th for that start. And I'm like, well, if 2 tires worked okay at Homestead with the night conditions and having more grip, it was definitely worth the 2-tire call.
Well, now, when we roll back here into the Pro Series, we'll be at Atlanta Motor Speedway on December 12th. How do you feel going towards that race?
Atlanta's a really diverse track. There's multi-grooves there, and I feel like I can run pretty well at Atlanta. Our team is really doing a lot of good things right now. We're getting right, so I think we'll have something good for Atlanta.
All right, now before I let you go, thank you once more for stopping by with us, but who would you like to thank for this finish that you guys put on for tonight?
Zelensky for being on the box for sure. Ray with the tremendous call for me, and Shelton putting in a lot of time this week for the setup, and yeah, everyone at Slip Angle Motorsports.
All right, well, thank you very much, Brandon, and hopefully we'll see you again in a couple weeks' time when we go to Atlanta.
Thank you, guys.
I'm going to send it back to Austin. I believe he's caught up with Casey Kerwin.
I think we'll get a hold of Mr. Casey Kerwin here. The number 3 had the 4-tire strategy, first of many drivers on that strategy. It didn't quite work out. I think if it was going green flag around on either of the previous restarts, it would have been really good for you, Casey. Talk to us about your race and how it all came together here for you.
Yeah, you know, we started out decent. We were just way too tight, and that was hurting us because we couldn't take less fuel like everyone else was. So overall, we just had less speed, and finally we got it loose there. Second to last run, took less fuel, and started flying there. And you know, I think we would have ended up good if it would have stayed green. I don't think we would have won. I don't think we could have beaten Keegan or Shelton. They were in a class of their own. And yeah, so it's good to get a finish like this. That, you know, that restart. You know, at the end, I just didn't get a good enough start there in third, and just couldn't set. And then I tried setting up pip grass to get P2 there, coming to the checkered, and I overdrove it, and probably should have lost fourth, but I think Bolton overdrove it behind me too. So great result after what happened last week. Just tried too hard last week and wrecked myself and some other people. So it was good to get the Kerchu train back on track for the remainder of the season, hopefully. And yeah, just looking forward to Atlanta in a couple weeks.
And talk to us about how your season's really been going so far. You know, we've seen a lot of good things out of some of the top 5 and the top 3 each week has kind of been pretty defined there throughout the last couple weeks. And we've seen you won the first race, of course. We talked to you there, and you know, throughout the season, I'm sure there's going to be some difficult tracks. Are there any that are coming up soon that are tracks that you're not looking forward to or something like that?
I think Atlanta's kind of on there for me. I've never really been the best there. And then after that's Darlington, which, I don't know, I feel like I'm decent at Darlington. So really I'm most worried about Sonoma and Daytona after the Christmas break. But other than that, yeah, the season's been going good. We've had speed every week. And, you know, Homestead, we had a really, really, really good car. And just I had an issue with my brakes where they were sticking, and then I tried too hard to make up for it, and I cost us from having a top 15, top 20 day to a 37th place finish and losing, you know, 200 points in the standings. So, and we now have to use that drop week at a track where we definitely had a top 5 car. So, hoping to just keep it going.
Well, before we let you go, we'll give you the floor to give your shout outs to anyone and everyone who makes it possible.
Yeah, just got to thank Sean Powell, Houston Hamer, Alan Bowes for working on the setup all week. We struggled to get some speed in it and found it a couple days ago. Just glad to get a good result. Got to thank Brandon Wilkinson for spotting, keeping me cool, keeping me calm, making sure I stayed smart and get a good finish, get a good points day. And last but not least, got to thank John Dragonetti for the awesome paint scheme once again.
All right, there you have it. Casey Kerwin finishes in the 3rd position. Thanks for giving us a moment of your time there, Casey.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
And we'll cycle on down through. And I don't think that Justin Bolton is going to be here for comment on his 4th place position finish. So I think we're going to go ahead and give it to Keegan. Keegan's down there somewhere. We're gonna get a hold of him, and yes, we got him here. I didn't realize he's already here, and we're going to give it to Kelly. Kelly, take the floor.
Yeah, I'm here with Keegan Leahy. And Keegan, you seem to have a really strong car here tonight. But did it come down to just the wrong strategy call at the end?
Yeah, the thing is, in these races, especially up front, everyone's just so close on speed. You really need to have a 20-lap run to even work, like pace around the guy in front of you and work on him to even have a chance at passing them. So once I got behind, there wasn't really a shot, and I was just stuck trying to fight for 5th. I think I had a shot at the win if it went green at the end. I actually made a mistake and had too much tape on it for that around lap 80 before caution started at the end. And that forced me to kind of run a little bit slow, but eventually once the lap time slowed down and my RPMs dropped, I was going to be able to go full throttle again and probably pass the people I needed to end up with a win. But definitely P5 I'm happy with. It's only something like 40 or 50 points less than 1st. Still an over 300 point day, and that's all I'm really aiming for. Not really the type of series where you're going for wins every week.
All right, well, thank you very much for stopping by with us, Keegan. Before we let you go, we'll give you the floor to thank whoever you wish to thank for this top 5 finish.
I had Derek on the box today. He was helping me out. And thanks to Ryan and Chris as well. And thank you guys.
All right, well, thank you very much for stopping by with us there, Keegan. Right now, I think we may have one more. I think actually, no, we may have lost them. So we'll send it back up to Austin here to finish us off for the night.
Yeah, looks like we had a couple people waiting in queue, but looks like time has run short for us and run short for them. And definitely this race came down to the wire. I really think that when all is said and done, those drivers who were fast, they were there at the end. And then strategy really had to come to play. I mean, your top 5 all started in the top 10. I think that says quite a bit about how they were able to navigate throughout the field and make adjustments, get throughout the race, and just stay safe and make as much as they could with what they had. And Shelton and Pipgrass, part of Slip Angle Motorsports, they really made it clear that they were going to try and get as many points as they could throughout. For this race to try and get to the Pro Series, or trying to get to the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series.
Yeah, a lot of these guys try and just get the points finishes every week, and a lot of them did succeed in that. I mean, they didn't get the win, but as Keegan mentioned, this isn't a series where you need to win week in, week out. You just need to have strong, consistent finishes. You just have to be up near that front of the field, and I think anyone that finished in the top 10 here tonight is gonna go to bed as a happy person. So some good finishes out there tonight, and some good racing as well. So hopefully we'll in a couple weeks' time we'll get another show like this.
As we start to wrap up the night, we do want to remind you that the Myrtle Beach Simulation Series is on Wednesday nights and is coming back up in full swing after the holidays. Tomorrow at 9 p.m. And then you've got Upstate Racing. It's going to also be on Thursday, and then everyone's getting back in swing, really. So Upstate Racing League's on Thursday, and then Friday you've got the Super Speedway Cup Series. The United Sim Racing BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series will be back on Saturday. Also, don't forget the Icebreaker Series is back in full swing as well. They are going to have their second race on the season next Monday, and I think signups are still up for that, so you can go to LSRTV's homepage and actually sign up for that right now. And really, quite a lot is going back on. We had our off week and we're back together, and what a good way to start off with Daytona and Auto Club for the last couple of weeks. So we're gonna go ahead and start writing the night down. From all of us here in the booth, I'm Austin Coop, Kelly Dahl, Disco Scaramouza, and then from everyone back home who makes it possible, Evan Pasoko, Laura Lawson, and DJ. We want to thank you for tuning in tonight, and we will see all of you at the next track.